Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us for First Class Holidays Around the World Week. We're excited to see you with us as we celebrate over 30 years of unforgettable journeys and showcase the incredible destinations and trusted supplier partners that make it all possible. This week is all about inspiration, connection, and highlighting the very best of what First Class Holidays has to offer. I'm now going to hand over to Lily, the UK and Europe Trade Executive from Tourism New Zealand. Please note this session is pre-recorded, but if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat and we'll be back to answer them all. If you need anything else, feel free to reach out to us at sales@fcholidays.com. Enjoy the session.
Well, kia ora everyone. Thank you, Ali. Kia ora, lovely to be with you all today and appreciate the very warm welcome from you, Ali. If we haven't met yet, I'm Lily and I work for Tourism New Zealand based here in London. I definitely have one of the best jobs in the world where I get to talk to people all day about how amazing my home country is. So it's wonderful to be here with you all to do just that. So I guess when it comes to a destination, there's so much that we could talk about. And today we've only got about 30 minutes together. So this is just a brief outline of how I've prepared our time. So we're actually about to come out with a new campaign, which is super hot off the press, and you're going to be one of the first people in the UK to see it. So I'll give you a bit of a sneak peek of that so you can see what your clients are going to be seeing from us in market throughout the year. Then I always like to do a bit of a quick reminder as to why New Zealand is a great destination for your clients. And following that, I'll do a quick review of some of our common questions that I get asked by trade, just to make sure that you're armed with the right key messages. And then we'll finish off by talking through my bucket list of activities that I think create the perfect New Zealand itinerary, just to give you a little bit more inspiration of what you can curate for your clients. So if that sounds good to you all, we'll jump straight in. But as I said, we're launching a new global brand campaign, which is very exciting. So our campaign would have launched in some of our markets mid-June this year. However, for us in the UK, we're not going to be launching this piece of work until probably about September time. So given it's going to be a while until you see this work live in the UK, I'm not going to spend too long here, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a sneak peek so you can see what is coming up. I think the thing I love most about this campaign is that it's going back to really heroing the 100% Pure New Zealand brand, which is one of our strongest assets, and it'll be inviting visitors to come to New Zealand to find their 100% through the experiences that our destination can offer. So I'm just going to play a quick 30-second hero video that kind of showcases what the concept will look like. So obviously there'll be a lot more depth to the campaign, but we're really trying to showcase the wide variety of kind of the year-round activities that you can do in New Zealand that are going to leave your clients feeling fulfilled and at their 100%, so that when they're ready to come home. So as I said, there's obviously much more to the campaign. There'll be more creative coming out, and we'll be sharing more as we get closer to our UK launch. But we also are really trying to make it as easy as possible for you as travel sellers to use a campaign to promote New Zealand within your own channels. So we have developed a campaign toolkit, which provides you with all the information that you need about this work, as well as a library of ready-to-use assets that you can use on your social media or your newsletters, anywhere that you're talking with your clients. So this cool toolkit will be available on our trade website, traveltrade.newzealand.com. But that's just a bit of a brief look as to what your customers are going to start seeing from us after September. So we're really looking forward to this work being live in market and getting your customers ready or excited about booking a New Zealand holiday soon. But let's move on to talk a little bit more about the destination. I always love to start off with just a bit of a reminder as to why New Zealand, why it's the perfect destination for your clients to choose. Beautiful landscapes are a massive key driver for UK visitors when they're choosing a long-haul holiday destination, and New Zealand absolutely delivers in that space. But what I think makes New Zealand really unique is the diversity of those landscapes that it can offer. There aren't many destinations in the world where you can start off an itinerary by island hopping in the Bay of Islands in Northland, then have an opportunity to live out your Lord of the Rings fantasy at the Shire. And only 45 minutes from there, you could be fully immersed in Māori culture in Rotorua. Then dial up the adrenaline activities with a heli hike on the west coast of the South Island. The next day, you might be kayaking just off beautiful golden sand beaches in Abel, Tasman, and finishing off your day with a beautiful glass of Sauvignon Blanc near Marlborough. And only a few hours south drive from there, you could be whale watching off the coast of Kaikoura and finishing off that trip with an epic scenic flight over the fjords. So while New Zealand can feel far away for those of us living here in the UK, there aren't that many destinations in the world where you can have all those landscapes and experiences included in that one itinerary. And that makes New Zealand quite unique and also totally worth that flight time. So that's a bit about the why. Now let's talk a bit about the when. So once your clients have chosen New Zealand as their destination choice, the next question that they are going to probably ask you is, when is the best time to go? The key thing that I'd really love for you to take away today is New Zealand is truly a year-round destination. So each season is a great time to be in the country. We do know that from this side of the world, obviously, a lot of your customers are probably going to want to travel during the New Zealand summer months between kind of December and February. That's definitely our peak period. We think that there's a bit of a perception that because it's a bucket list trip for many, they want to go when the weather is seemingly at its best. But I do think the shoulder seasons really have a lot to offer. Like if I had a friend that came to me and asked, I've got one chance in my life to go to New Zealand, when would you recommend I travel? I personally would always say autumn, and that's between March and May. I really find in these months the weather is a little bit more settled. Yes, it's probably a little bit cooler, but it's usually mostly in the evenings. You're still enjoying kind of those long sunny days after summer with lots of beautiful blue sky. But the best bit about traveling outside our peak season is you're often getting the landscapes to yourself. So when you're out hiking, cycling, or doing anything in nature, it's more common not to really come across that many people in the shoulders. Whereas if you're doing that same activity kind of in that mid-January period, it's a totally different story and different experience. But to give you a quick overview, I'll play a video that kind of highlights what New Zealand is like in each of those seasons, which hopefully gives you a better idea. So this one is about 3 minutes long.
From crisp winter days to long summer nights, each season in Aotearoa, New Zealand has something unique to offer. When travelling from the Northern Hemisphere, remember that the seasons in New Zealand occur at the opposite time of year, and that the weather does change from one season to the next. While summer is a popular time to visit New Zealand, spring and autumn can be some of the best times to travel. Visitors can expect fewer crowds and shoulder season rates for accommodation and activities. Spring runs from September to November, and your clients can expect cool, crisp mornings and evenings. Days tend to be sunny, though can sometimes be interrupted by a spring shower, so it's a good idea to pack a rain jacket. Throughout spring, landscapes are vibrant with rolling green hills, lush native forests, and gardens in full flower. It's a fantastic time to visit places like Hamilton Gardens in the Waikato, or Ōtautahi Christchurch when the cherry blossoms of Hagley Park are in bloom. With the weather warming up, this is a great season to spend time outdoors. Feel a rush of adrenaline while jet boating, or go whitewater rafting. Be awed by the ice-cold beauty of New Zealand's glaciers on a scenic flight or guided walk. Or explore nature close up on an easily accessible day walk from one of the city centres. Wildlife encounters are a real highlight of travelling in spring. From spotting seals in Kaikoura to seeing albatross in Dunedin. Across the country, your clients will find plenty of locations to view newborn animals, such as lambs and fledgling bird life, including korora, little penguins. Autumn in New Zealand occurs between March and May. Long, sunny days tend to linger well into the season. In the South Island, once autumn hits, the leaves change from green to stunning hues of orange, red, and yellow. The colours are particularly spectacular in central Otago, Wanaka and Tahuna Queenstown, both regions famed for their excellent vineyards, many of which offer wine tasting tours. Experiences that are perfect in autumn include tasting the flavours of New Zealand, from sampling contemporary and traditional Māori cuisine to trying local specialties such as bluff oysters. Throughout autumn, there are festivals and events filled with food, wine, art, music and culture. Hikers will find autumn an excellent season to discover New Zealand's extensive network of trails, many passing through spectacular national parks. Up until the end of April is the Great Walk season, an ideal time to traverse these premier multi-day hiking trails. These are exceptionally popular walks, and pre-booking accommodation, domestic flights and transport is recommended. Whichever time of year your clients are looking to travel to Aotearoa, New Zealand, they'll find an abundance of unique activities across the country. And remember that spring and autumn are excellent times to travel, thanks to fewer crowds, temperate weather, and favourable deals on accommodation and experiences.
So yeah, as you can see by that film, those shoulder seasons really do provide a lovely experience for your clients. So if they do have the flexibility to travel outside of New Zealand summer months, then I highly recommend that they do. But once your clients have decided that they want to go to New Zealand, now they know what time of year they want to travel, usually they're now going to ask, how long do I need in New Zealand? And I always find this one a little bit tricky to answer. It's kind of like asking how long is a piece of string. But I guess for the UK market, I typically recommend a minimum of 2 weeks. In an ideal world, you'd have 2 weeks per island to really tick off everything you want to and have the ability to explore more remote areas. But appreciate not everyone's going to have that amount of time. So you can definitely have a fulfilling trip to New Zealand in 2 weeks. The trick is just selecting the right regions that match your clients' interests. And to help you make a bit more of an informed decision about the best place to send your clients, let's take a look at the key differences. So New Zealand, if you're new to it, obviously we've got 2 main islands, the north and the south. Most of our long-haul flights are going to arrive either in Auckland at the international airport there in the North Island or Christchurch in the South Island. So keep those in mind for your typical entry and exit points. But in terms of what each island offers, the North Island usually has a warmer climate. For example, we often refer to Northland as the winterless north. It's more densely populated, so 3/4 of our population reside in the North Island. This means it's more cosmopolitan, so great for people who want to spend a little bit more time in cities. Our Māori population is also higher in the North Island as well, so this is where you'll find more cultural products to include in your itineraries. But in terms of landscapes, the North Island is mostly known for its golden sand beaches, its lush native forests, and that real geothermal and volcanic scenery that you get in that centre of the North Island. While in contrast, the South Island is typically a bit cooler in temperature, absolutely less populated as well. The driving can often be a little bit more technical in the South Island as you're going over large mountain ranges, so just keep that in mind if you have nervous drivers. And I also just usually allow a little bit more time in the South Island, just because the drives between regions tend to be a little bit longer than they are in the north. But the mountains are what makes the South Island landscape so incredibly impressive. So you'll have those towering mountains, the deep fjords, the stunning glaciers. It's really the perfect place to send people who want to be out in nature. And I tend to recommend an itinerary that includes both islands, so rather than just picking one or the other. Given the landscapes differ so vastly between them, I think it's really nice to be able to experience both of them. But now you're getting into the itinerary planning, and the next question usually is, what are the different ways to travel around the country? And New Zealand is, of course, ultimately a touring destination. It's not a place where you're going to visit and stay in 1 or 2 regions, but you're going to want to get out and explore a little bit further. The first and definitely most common is obviously self-drive, which is no doubt one of the best ways to see New Zealand and something I highly recommend for those who want to drive. It really gives you so much freedom to explore New Zealand and get off the beaten track. And New Zealand really does have great infrastructure to support getting out into the region. So you don't have to stick to the main centres, which I think is really great. I guess pulling together a self-drive itinerary can be a little bit daunting. This is where I really recommend leaning on the team from First Class Holidays to help you. But one thing New Zealand does do quite well is they've created these themed highways as well across the country. Basically, a themed highway, which you can see highlighted on the maps there with the different coloured lines. They connect a couple of regions that are close by and tell you the best way to travel between them and recommend accommodation and activities to stop along the way. So this can kind of help you kind of easily pull together itineraries that are a little bit more interesting than just going the fastest way to point A or point B. So you can find those on our website if you need a little bit of inspiration on the best way to travel through New Zealand. Then obviously to get between each islands, I often am asked, is there a bridge? Which there's not. So you do have to either take ferry or go by air. So there is an inter-island ferry service, and there's two main operators, Blue Bridge and Inter Islander. Both are wonderful. This journey is about 3.5 hours through the Cook Strait, which is the stretch of water between the north and the south. Absolutely stunning, and hopefully you'll be able to spot some dolphins along the way there too, and you can take your car or your camper van on board as well. My one tip is that if you want to include a ferry crossing in an itinerary is to book this in as early as you can. Spaces do seem to book out probably about 6 months in advance of your travel date. You're going to start to struggle getting the dates and the exact times that you want. So definitely try and book this in relatively early. Otherwise, if you don't want to sail, it's about a 30-minute flight between Wellington and Picton, so very easily to travel by air. And speaking of air, we obviously are serviced in New Zealand by Air New Zealand, and we're very well connected. Air New Zealand travels between 20 different regions across the country, which is quite impressive for a small country like ours. And they operate over 400 flights every single day. So if your clients don't want to be driving all the time or doing long journeys in the car, flying could be a really good option. It's also a great choice if you've got clients in New Zealand for a shorter period of time, maybe a little bit less than 2 weeks. You can really utilize these flights to help reduce your travel time. So don't be afraid to use those to help you. In New Zealand, you only have to be at the airport about 40 minutes before your flight as well. And most of the airports are quite small and easy to get through. So it can be a really seamless experience, which is great. And then we've obviously got some wonderful scenic train journeys as well, which are really easily incorporated into an itinerary if your clients don't want to drive or drive for the full trip. So this is a Northern Explorer, which is the first one on the left-hand side, and that travels through most of the North Island between Auckland and Wellington. The second is the Coastal Pacific, which is between Picton at the top of the South Island and Christchurch, kind of halfway down the east coast of the South Island. And this travels, as I said, down the coast, so you're going to get amazing sea views the entire journey. It's really beautiful. And then finally, the Transalpine, which is probably the most well-known train trip in New Zealand between Christchurch and Greymouth, so straight across the middle of the South Island. This one's particularly beautiful in the winter months with the snow on the mountains that you travel in between. Similar with the ferry, my one tip is if you're thinking about adding in a train journey to your client's itinerary is to check the schedule, as not all trains travel every single day. All right, well, let's move on to my bucket list. So I've been working for Tourism New Zealand for about 8 years now. 5 of those, I was based in New Zealand in our offices there, and the last 3 up here in London. So during my time here, I've been really lucky enough to experience almost every single region in New Zealand and a big portion of the Trade Ready product. There are so many incredible activities that I've done in New Zealand, and I can imagine if you're new to the destination or haven't been yourself, it's potentially a little bit daunting to know exactly what experiences to include in your client's itineraries. But this is where utilizing a company like First Class Holidays can be really helpful, as they are true destination experts. So res teams have incredible knowledge on all the regions and all of the unique products across the country, and they're able to really help you identify the best mix for your client's itinerary. So definitely lean in on the expertise. But I wanted to give you a little bit of inspiration from my own personal bucket list. Through this, I've just highlighted some of the experiences that for me would make up a perfect New Zealand itinerary that would leave me feeling 100%. And of course, you've got to start off by including some of those bucket list activities. I've chosen one for each island, and for me, the South Island, I had to go with Doubtful Sound. Doubtful Sound is incredible. To explain what it is, think towering mountains, lush native forests, cascading waterfalls, and wildlife kind of hidden around every corner. It's like, oh, sorry, I've skipped through. It's located in Fiordland, which is at the bottom of the west coast of New Zealand. On Doubtful, you can either opt for a day cruise to explore the sounds or an overnight. And to me, the overnight is the ultimate bucket list. It's one of my most memorable experiences that I've ever done in New Zealand. And the thing I loved most is that there's no Wi-Fi, there's no cellular data. So it's a great chance to truly switch off and really reap the benefits of being out in nature. If you're doing Doubtful Sound, I recommend staying a night or two in Te Anau, which is the local region, as it does take a little bit of time to travel to. If your clients are short on time within the itinerary but still want to do one of the sounds, then Milford Sound is a great choice. It's a little bit easier to access. You can even do a day trip from Queenstown rather than staying out in Te Anau. But Milford does definitely have higher visitation, so it is a lot busier. So if your clients are more adventurous, they like to be off the beaten track and away from the crowds, then Doubtful Sound is definitely the best choice. And then for the North Island, I had to go with Hobbiton as my iconic choice. I think Hobbiton is such a magical place. Whether you're a fan of the films or not, you're still really going to enjoy it. The entry-level product is a 60-minute tour of the Shire, where you end up at the Green Dragon for one of their exclusive brews. You can now even go inside of the Hobbit holes on the tours, where you get a glimpse of kind of what the interior would have looked like too, which is pretty a special edition. And for big fans, they also have additional products like the evening banquet tour, which is incredible. They do an amazing feast, totally fit for a Hobbit. So I recommend that if you've got big fans of the films going. So there's lots of options available. But Hobbiton is located in Matamata, which is in the Waikato region, about 2 hours south of Auckland. So it can be a great place to make a bit of a stop on that road trip. I do always recommend pre-booking this product, especially during the summer months, as you can only really visit on a guided tour, and they do sell out during the peak season. But then my next recommendation is to build in a scenic flight into your itinerary. Everyone comes to New Zealand for the landscapes, and I have to say it's even more special to be able to see them from above. You can really get to understand how vast the landscapes are in New Zealand and how much of the country is relatively untouched and kind of in its natural state, especially on that South Island. So if your clients are looking to do something, totally unique, this is kind of the best type of experience to consider, as the possibilities are truly endless when it comes to air activities. So think heli gin tours, maybe having a glass of champagne on an alpine lake, landing by helicopter on a boat in Milford Sound just for lunch, or taking transport between a luxury lodge. There are so many ways that you can incorporate a scenic flight into your itinerary, and this is something I really highly, highly recommend. North Island scenic flights are great if your clients love beach landscapes or forests, but if they love those dramatic alpine mountains like I do, then definitely try and add one in the South Island. There are scenic flights that can suit all budgets as well, so they're going to be more affordable on a small fixed-wing plane, and then get more expensive as you move to a helicopter or a more personalized experience. And then my next tip is to add in something adventurous to get that kind of heart rate up. New Zealand is definitely well known for its adventure tourism, anything from zip lines to bungee jumping to skydiving to canyoning to heli skiing to four-wheel driving. Anything is possible in New Zealand. I'm a terrible scaredy cat when it comes to anything like this. Probably in the wrong job sometimes, I fear. I've got a crippling fear of heights, so you won't catch me doing any of that. But I do really love doing a jet boat to get my thrills. It's one of the best ways to kind of up that adrenaline, but also get access to some of the most beautiful scenery in New Zealand that you can't really access by car or foot. And there's jet boat rides that kind of suit any kind of adrenaline level. So there's some that are a little bit more scenic and slow paced, and then some like the Shotover Jet in Queenstown, which is all about the 360 spins and getting really close to the rock faces there. So definitely something adventurous for everyone, no matter kind of their appetite. But for those who want a slightly slower pace, New Zealand really does punch above its weight in terms of producing world-class wines. This is probably where you'll find me and maybe Ali when we're in New Zealand for exploring. We have 10 different wine regions across the country which you can visit, so it's easy to add these into any itinerary. My favorite is the Wairarapa, which is just north of Wellington. Here, what I love about the Wairarapa wine region is it's a number of small family-owned vineyards. So when you're going in to do your cellar door tasting, you're often going to be meeting the owner of that vineyard, or maybe the winemaker, or someone who is personally connected to the brand and passionate about what they're producing, and you're having that one-on-one kind of interaction with those people, not just someone who's employed to pour you some wine. And I think that is something quite unique to New Zealand and quite unique to this area as well. Otherwise, Marlborough is obviously one of our biggest wine producing regions in New Zealand, so top of the South Island, and that's known for its amazing Sauvignon Blanc, which you can get very easily over here in the UK, which is great. Or the Hawke's Bay on the east coast of the North Island has beautiful red wine, and you can even stay at some of the vineyards like Craigie Range, which is pictured here. But speaking of accommodation, I really also want to encourage you to mix up the accommodation in your itineraries. We have a great variety of accommodation styles, from hostels, motels, hotels to luxury lodges. There is something for every type of traveller, but people travel to New Zealand for the landscape, so why not choose some accommodation that are within those incredible landscapes? So you can do anything from staying in a tree house, in a glass pod, or on site at a vineyard. So I'm just going to play this quick video while I talk over it. But I just wanted to give you some visuals on some of the unique accommodation that is available in New Zealand. This one showing now is Hapuku Lodge. So that's one of our luxury offerings in Kaikoura, so just north of Christchurch on the South Island. It's a beautiful small coastal town, big alpine mountains on one side and the ocean on the other. So it's a very magical place in New Zealand, but they've got a series of tree houses on their property, which are amazing. And then you've got options like Skyscape here, which is a glass pod, often located on private farmland. And the New Zealand night skies are incredibly clear, so it's really fun to fall asleep kind of under the stars. And these are quite popular, and they're kind of popping up all over the country now. Otherwise, you've got options like Kokako Retreat in Rotorua. So this is only a 15-20 minute drive from central Rotorua. So even when you're choosing accommodation like this that is in nature, you aren't sacrificing the location to be staying in those landscapes. So for many of these properties, they're still within a reasonable distance to all the activities that your clients are wanting to see during the day. So those are just a few examples of some more unique accommodation options that are a really easy way to add interest into your itinerary. Otherwise, my top list isn't complete without incorporating a cultural experience. So sharing our Māori customs is very important to us as a nation. And we know that visitors love returning home with a deeper understanding of our Indigenous people and how their principles have kind of influenced our modern lifestyles. So you're definitely going to have more options in the North Island, as this is where most of our Māori population live. So I really recommend building in a visit to Northland or Rotorua if experiencing local culture is important to your clients. But that's kind of it from me today about New Zealand. Before I finish up, I just wanted to quickly remind you of a few tools and resources that are available to you if you'd like to deepen your knowledge of New Zealand. The first is obviously our trade website, which is traveltrade.newzealand.com. So this is our site that we've created especially for you as travel sellers. Here you can download anything from downloadable maps, itinerary inspiration, training tutorials, anything you need that can help you feel a little bit more confident in selling New Zealand. So definitely check that out if you are needing more support. And obviously we'd love for you to stay in touch with us. So here's some QR codes to our closed Facebook groups and our e-newsletters, which are perfect ways to staying on top of what's happening in New Zealand. But thank you so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate you coming and learning a little bit more about New Zealand. And I really can't recommend the team at First Class Holidays enough. We've had a couple of their guys out on Famils in New Zealand over the last couple of years. So we know that their team are really trained up well on the perfect product and all the regions. They can create amazing itineraries for your clients. So definitely lean in on their expertise to make those bucket list trips for your clients. But thank you so much. It's been wonderful to chat with you all today.
Thank you